Hi, welcome to the class again. This is your professor, Dr. Adam Dunstan. I thought I would just give you a quick rundown of both the syllabus and some of the course mechanics, since for some of you this might be the first online course that you've done, and I want to make sure that everybody has all the information they need to succeed in this course, because it is a little bit to some degree self-directed, but I think we've laid it out where it's very easy to navigate. So first, let's go over to the syllabus. The syllabus is really your guide for this class completely, so please always be referring to the syllabus. And the way you get there is by going to our Blackboard page, clicking, shockingly, on the syllabus link, and then clicking again, very surprisingly, on the syllabus link. And then it'll pull up a PDF of our syllabus, slowly if you have bad Wi-Fi like me, and here it is. There's a few things I wanted to point out on the syllabus, but again, I would recommend that you read the syllabus word for word, because this syllabus really is, to some degree, the complete explanation of what we're going to be doing in this course. Now, one thing you'll notice here, that was me checking to make sure that it's actually recording. One thing that you'll notice here is that it has my office hours. My office hours right now are Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. So please, if you have any concerns about the course or you just want to drop by and make sure that you know your professor, please come by my office hours. I'm happy to talk to you. If you come by other times, I will probably be busy with something or I might not be there. So please, if you want to meet with me, come by Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Or if that time doesn't work for you, then set an appointment with me. And then my email address is adam.dunstan@unt.edu. And as I mentioned later in the syllabus, if you email me after 5, that's fine. I just probably won't get back to you until the next business day because I have a life and a family and I don't just do professoring 24/7. So just keep that in mind. The teaching assistant is Natalie Morrissey, who's great. She's TA'd this class multiple times before, so she's a really good resource for you. Her email is there on the syllabus, and her office hours are Monday, Wednesday, 5 to 7:30, and she holds those virtually. I don't have the information on here, but we also have a supplemental instructor, Veronica, and essentially our supplemental instructor is there to hold study sessions with you once or twice a week, which is a really huge resource for you in this course. Think of her as sort of a tutor that you don't have to pay for. Now, a little bit about this course. This course is Introduction to Anthropology. So, what is anthropology? Well, you're going to read a lot about that in your book and in your unit, but think of it this way. You know how you're not supposed to talk about politics or religion over dinner, right? You've heard that saying, don't talk politics or religion over dinner. And then also there's some other things you're not supposed to talk about over dinner or it gets really awkward, like gender roles or like evolution or like race and race issues. Pretty much take all of that stuff that you're not supposed to talk about over dinner because people have strong opinions about it, and that's what we study as anthropologists. Basically, we study all of the cool, amazing, interesting, complicated, sometimes negative things that make us human, what it means to be human, and especially what it means to be different kinds of humans, our different cultures, our different genetic makeups, and what all that means, and what are our commonalities, and what are our differences. So that's what this course is going to be going over. And with that, we kind of take the broadest view possible. So it's what does it mean to be human throughout time? We'll talk about human evolution, we'll talk about archaeology of human civilizations back in the day, and then we'll also talk about cultures nowadays. And we won't just focus on Western culture, our own cultures, and we won't just focus on other cultures, but we'll focus on all of them. So again, it's sort of the broadest view possible. So broad, in fact, that we'll even look at some of our closest genetic relatives in terms of primates. And we believe that you kind of have to have the most overarching perspective to get a sense of what does it mean to be human. Now, this is an online course, and the fact that it's an online course means that you really need to, and I know I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but you really need to read the syllabus and know the syllabus so that you know exactly when things are due, because you're not going to have me in a class telling you, hey everybody, the quiz is due Wednesday, which really you shouldn't have to have a professor tell you that anyways, but in this course you're not going to have me face-to-face with you doing that. So please do follow the syllabus. And especially pages 7 through 9 of the syllabus are what's called the course schedule, and they give you a perfect lineup of what we're doing. Basically, on this course schedule found on page 7, you have 4 columns. First column will tell you what date everything corresponds to, right? So right now, for example, it's May 21st, and so we're in this period, May 20th through 23rd. The second column is what topics are we supposed to be on. So for May 20th through 23rd, we're supposed to be on topic 1, jumping in. And when I say topic 1, that's actually like lesson 1. So if you go over to units and lessons and click on unit 1, there we find topic 1. It'll look a little different on your screen because you're a student. Actually, I'll show you what it looks like. But anyways, be that as it may. Basically, when we say that you're supposed to be at a certain topic, that means that you're supposed to be at a certain lesson. That's the lesson that you're supposed to be doing that week. Now let's go back to that syllabus. I know that syllabus review is incredibly boring. Believe me, professors don't find it much more interesting. However, it's one of those things where if we can really do this at the beginning of the semester, it avoids a lot of questions later on. So anyways, back to this course schedule. You got the date, then you got the topic or the lesson that you're supposed to be reading that week. Or that time period. In italics, it'll also have kind of an overarching concept that we're talking about that week. The next column is the reading that you should be doing that week. Really keep up on these readings from the textbook, because that material, the textbook material, that's really the meat and potatoes of this course. The topics are great and they're supplementary and they'll expand and they're sort of like the lecture material in some ways of the course, but because it is an online course, we rely on you to really be reading the textbook and letting that, in a sense, be your lecture. Fourth column will tell you what graded work you're supposed to be doing that time period. So for example, right now we're in the May 20th to 23rd time period. And so on May 23rd, which is Monday, you're going to have a discussion board due, a practicing anthropology discussion board. The details of that are in the lesson. And then also a response to somebody else's discussion board. You'll also notice that what was that, 2 days ago, so that would have been Thursday, we had the class roster and the map yourself assignments due, which are like an introduction. So again, if you follow this course schedule, it's pretty straightforward. You look at what date it is right now, you look at what topic you're supposed to be reading, you look at what textbook chapter you're supposed to be reading, then you do whatever assignments due for that time period. Sometimes you'll get a week or a few days where there's not an assignment due. Now, this isn't true every single time, but what I've tried to do for most of the graded work for most of the assignments is that they're due either on a Monday or on a Thursday. And there's a lot of advantages to doing it those 2 days. And also it's kind of nice to have them usually be on a Monday and a Thursday, because then you can kind of keep track in your own head in that way as well. Say, oh, Thursday's coming up, I better check the syllabus to see if something's due. You'll note that the course schedule also tells you when the exams are. For example, the first exam is May 27th through 30th is when it's available, and it's due on May 30th. Alright, so pretty straightforward, all of this. Now, let's talk a little bit about other parts of the syllabus. The required text is Anthropology 14th edition by Ember and Peregrine. Now, there is a 13th edition. If you can get that cheaper elsewhere, you can use that if you want to. It's at your own risk, because the chapter assignments that I've given are based on the chapter numbers for the 14th edition. So although a lot of the text is the same, from what I understand, between the 13th and 14th, I'd recommend 14th if you can afford it, just on pure convenience grounds of you know exactly what chapter you're supposed to be reading. Otherwise, it's on you. You have to be figuring out which chapter to do. Like if you email me and say, oh, I have the 13th edition, what chapter am I supposed to be on this syllabus? I'll say, I'm sorry, that's on you. You kind of got to figure that out, because that's not the edition of the book I have. There will be some films that we'll be viewing throughout the semester, and I'll give you links for those. As mentioned before, there's going to be a supplemental instruction, I should say, which is sort of like tutoring sessions throughout the semester that are put on by Veronica Redden, and that's paid for by your tuition and course fees, so that's just sort of in a sense free, right, in air quotes, in the sense that anything's free in education, but in a sense it's a free service provided to you because you're in this course. It's free study sessions, which is fantastic. Alright, graded works. Basically, there's 4 exams, okay? And these exams are worth the majority of your grade, 86% of your grade. So really, you want to make sure that you're doing a good job on these exams. There's also a final exam that's optional, which sounds kind of funny. Basically, there's exam 1, 2, 3, and 4 are due at different points throughout the semester. Exam 4 is due right at the end of the semester. But then there's an optional final exam, quote unquote, which is comprehensive of the entire course. And you can take it if you want to. And if you take it and you score higher on the final than on a previous test, then that final score is going to replace your lowest test score. So basically, let's say I bombed the first exam and did good on the other 3, and then I want to make up those points from when I bombed the first exam. I can take this optional final exam, and then let's say I do really good on the final exam, that replaces my lowest score, the bad score that I got. If you get low on the final exam, lower than your other scores, it doesn't hurt you, doesn't count against you, it really can only help you. So I recommend doing the final if you're at all worried about your grade at the end of the semester. I already talked about the class roster and map yourself. I hope you all had a chance to do that, put down pins where you've experienced different cultures, and also put yourself on the roster so we know a little bit about you. There's 7 discussion responses in this class, each of which are 5 points. And basically for each of these, you're expected to post at least 3 sentences and respond to it like a prompt that I give you. And then in addition to that post, that initial post that you do, you also have to respond to another student's post with some substantial material. And if you only do half of that, like you don't respond to somebody's post, just do your own, that's only part of the points for obvious reasons. When you write these discussion responses, you really want to try to be thoughtful and intellectual and studious about it, right? This isn't just sort of an emotional response. That's great if you had an emotional response. Hopefully it was a good one, but I don't necessarily need to know your emotions. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to make sure that you're understanding the material and getting deep into it and really chewing on the ideas. So give me something intellectual about how you're responding to this argument that the author made or the prompt that I had you read. In addition to discussion and discussion response things, we also have these assignments, 4 of them throughout the course. Things like, respond to a film prompt or respond to a prompt about mutation, things like that. Each of those are worth 5 points. Overall, the grading breakdown for this course, as you can see, is heavily weighted towards the exams, but that doesn't mean you can slack off on the other stuff, because the other stuff is cumulative, worth 14% of your grade. So if you just refuse to do any of this, the most you can get is a B, and probably you would get much lower. This is the grading scale. Please pay careful attention to it. With these online courses, there are as many points as there are. Really, that could be said about any course, but especially online courses, there are as many points as there are. So if we get to the end of the semester and you don't love the grade that you got, after you've done all your work, there's really not anything I can do. If you only got 416 points and therefore you have a B rather than an A, it's unfortunate, but that's kind of how it is, right? I will round up from 0.5 below the next. So like if you got an 89.5, I round up. But other than that, if you're several points shy of the next grade up, there's nothing I can do at the end of the semester to bump you up. That's just kind of where you are. So pay careful attention to this grading scale and make sure that you're keeping on track of your assignments. I would love for you all to get A's. So please just keep track of the work and make sure that you're doing it. I put here some professional expectations, 95% if you don't need these reminders, but these are for the 5% of you that maybe would act in unprofessional ways in this course. In any course that you do, there's going to be maybe 3 to 5% of students that do crazy stuff. So here's just sort of my stuff of what you should not do / what you should do to be professional. Biggest one, read the syllabus. Just make sure you know the syllabus. Although I will occasionally post different reminders, I'm not making any guarantee of that. And so it's really on you to remember the due dates. If you ask me a question that's on the syllabus, I'm not trying to be rude, but I'll email you and say, hey, that's on the syllabus, because I just don't have time to respond to 30 different questions about things that I've already answered on the syllabus. That's why I made a syllabus. I can't provide extensions or makeup work after the fact. So none of this 2 weeks after the exam, oh, I didn't know about the exam and I was super stressed out because my roommate was being a jerk that week. Sorry you have a crappy roommate, that sucks, but yeah, nothing, I can't do that after the fact. I can't just give you makeup work or give you an extension on an exam. You need to know when the assignments are. If there's a true emergency where obviously I have some discretion there, but the vast majority, like 99% of the time, things that you'll come to me with after the fact, I'll just say, sorry, that's when the exam was. If you know that there's going to be extenuating circumstances, let me know ahead of time. But really, there shouldn't be anything outside of really crazy emergencies. There really shouldn't be anything that stops you from taking an exam, because we keep the exams open for multiple days. And same thing with the assignments and discussion posts. You know weeks ahead of time when they're due. And that's why I'm really just stick to this rule of I don't provide makeup work after the fact. If you miss the due date, you miss the due date, unfortunately. Don't panic if I don't respond immediately to your email. I think sometimes we're used to professors that email back I think sometimes we want professors to email back in 30 seconds and then get upset when they don't. I say that I require at least 24 hours to respond, 48 hours if it's a weekend or holiday. A lot of times it'll be way quicker than that. But again, just because I didn't respond to you in 30 minutes doesn't mean I didn't get your email. It might be, again, up to a day later. And also, if you email me after 5 p.m., I'm probably not going to respond until the next business day. When you write an email, make sure that you're writing to me as a professor and not sort of like informally and casually as a text message or something like that. None of this like, hey, I'm mad about my grade. Okay, bye. Also, when you email, let me know your full name and your course number. I have like hundreds of students, and so it can be very, very confusing, and then I have to do a bunch of work to figure out who you actually are. So please just let me know your full name and your course number. So say, hi, this is student McStudentson from ANTH 1010. If there was a true emergency that stopped you from taking an exam or doing an assignment, it's your responsibility to go through the proper university channels and documentation channels to get that. So like, for example, if there were a death in the family, that is something that, the university would officially let me know so that I could make sure that I was making exceptions. And that, I have to have that official documentation just because even though I know 99% of you are honest, there's the 1% of people that will make up any sort of story, They have a different thing every single semester. Again, at the end of the course, the grade you have is the grade you earned. And so even if, I have a scholarship that's riding on this, or, I have to get such and such GPA to get into my pre-med program, I'm sorry, can't just bump your grade up. The reason is that's unfair to other students. So again, you have the grade you have at the end of the semester. So please just do the assignments when they're due. I would love for everyone to have an A. That would make me extremely happy. Wow, I've been talking for 17 minutes. That is so boring. Alright, let's try to go through this a little bit faster. Biggest thing is, if you're falling behind, if you're having a problem, if something's not making sense, reach out to me, okay? I'm here as a resource, even though this is an online class. You have a professor with this online class, so please reach out to me. Reach out to the TA, reach out to the supplemental instructor, and we can help you out and try to get you back on track. And the sooner you reach out, the more helpful we can be. Again, no late work. No makeups on exams unless there's some very reasonable thing you talk to me about. The only time when I change a due date on an exam for somebody is really if they talk to me ahead of time and I give them express approval, and that's up to my discretion. Or sometimes there's other really, really emergency situations, but they're very rare, and that is totally up to my discretion. There is a little bit of extra credit in the middle of the semester for 5 points. Communicating with us. Email is the best way to get a hold of us rather than, obviously come by office hours. I'd love to see you, but really email is the quickest way to get a hold of me. And check the syllabus first to see if it answers your questions, and then if it doesn't answer your question, shoot me an email. And I actually say on the syllabus, go to the TA first as far as an email. You can CC me on it, but email the TA first. The reason for that is the logic there. There's a lot of kind of basic mechanics questions that the TA can answer very easily for you, and sometimes there will be something like, why did I get a point off on this assignment? And actually a lot of times it'll be the TA that's actually graded that assignment. However, if it's a more complicated question, the TA can just forward it along to me. So again, I prefer that you actually email the TA first. It's not as if you email me first, I'm going to be like, oh, you're the worst. But I prefer you go to the TA first because she can handle a lot of the stuff. Announcements, make sure you're checking your email, and also make sure that you're checking the announcements tab up here because I will be giving you announcements regularly, and sometimes I may be modifying something on the course schedule, so make sure you're checking it. If you need to withdraw from the course, hope you don't have to, but if you need to, that's something you need to do, and you need to do the paperwork for it and bring that to me so that we can get that taken care of. I highly recommend, since it's an online course, that you're somewhere where you can jack into a landline as far as your internet access, or where you know that the Wi-Fi is reliable. Okay. If for some reason you have tech problems, there is the UNT student help desk that you should email first, okay, because I'm a professor, not a tech support person. But also, of course, let me know what's going on as well. Academic misconduct. I hate plagiarism. Like, it makes me want to vomit. So please don't plagiarize. I give myself the discretion here to give you a failing grade in the course if you do anything along the lines of academic misconduct. If you have an ODA, if you have a any sort of a disability that you need accommodations for, please touch base with the Office of Disability Accommodations on campus. They're super good. They'll write us up a letter that tells me exactly what I need to do as far as accommodations. Bring that to me, and you and I, either by email or in office hours, will talk about sort of accommodations should we do to the you're getting. All right, schedule. Notice that there's first course in origins. We talk about what is anthropology and how do anthropologists do what they do, and a little bit about our primate relatives. Unit 2, Ancestors, we talk about human evolution and the origins of humanity and of hominins in general, as well sort of archaeological history and how we went from everybody being hunter-gatherers essentially to large, complex, city-based cultures. Unit 3, we talk about culture and language and how people make a living and how they keep order in their society. And then Unit 4, Gender, Religion, and Culture Change. We again talk a little bit more about culture. We talk about how gender is affected by culture. We talk about religion. We talk about globalization and culture change, all of these types of things. So that's really the syllabus review. Again, I know that syllabus reviews, they're not sexy, they're not fun, but they're important. So please, if you have questions, make sure you're looking at the syllabus. Just to kind of review what I've said, the key components of this course are the following. There's the readings from the textbook that you need to be doing. That, again, is sort of your bread and butter of the teaching material in this course. And we do have you read quite a bit in this course, and that's because, you know, it's a trade-off, right? You don't have to be there in class listening to me drone on, but instead you need to be reading the course, reading a lot of the textbook to get the material that I would have given you if we were in class together. The second key part here is the topics, i.e. lessons, that are found under units and lessons. And again, there's 4 units, like I just said, each with several topics or lessons under them. And then there's the graded work, and I've got those listed there. So again, the readings, the topics, and the graded work, that's really the primary components of this course. And again, use your resources. Reach out to your TA. Definitely reach out to me. I'm very happy to help. And reach out to our supplemental instructor. I really hope you have a fantastic semester. Again, I know online courses can be hard where it can feel very disconnected from the professor, but I want to be here to help you succeed. I guess it's obvious because I teach it, but I'm extremely passionate about anthropology, and I want to make sure that at the end of this, you either want to be an anthropologist or you wish that you could be one. So, hope you have a great semester, and I'll be looking forward to talking to you more.